Hi, I'm Nathan from Serious Geeks, and today's review is going to be about the Space Marine releases from the Indomitus box set. Now, this box set is absolutely stunning. We've been spoilt for choice here. Well, Space Marine and Necron players have, but I challenge anyone to look at those Necron models and say they don't want a new Necron army. Anyway, that's for a different video. This one is going to be focused primarily about the Space Marines. Starting off from the top, we have the new Captain model. Now this model is stunning. I absolutely love it. It comes with 3 separate heads that has been confirmed by the reveal, which showed the sprues, and I love the pose. I think it's a very classic Space Marine looking model, and it looks incredibly 40k, and this is exactly what I've wanted to see. There are some people who may like the more sci-fi look of Space Marines, and you know, there's room for everyone in the hobby, I guess. But 40k is all about gothic and really cinematic, brooding, dark looking models. I mean, you don't get much more darker than carrying the skeletons of your own battle brothers to battle. And that is really nice little touch. And apparently it's not essential. I've heard that part of the sprue doesn't have to be put onto the shield, which is even more exciting for many players. The choice of 3 separate heads is absolutely brilliant. It's an inspired idea, and I like that Games Workshop are doing it more often. It enables us to customise our models and make them a little bit more unique than the person on the table next to you. The way that visor sticks up looks very knight-like, and you know that there's a medieval feel to it, and I think that just adds to the miniature. Myself, I'd probably go fully enclosed if I was to use this model, mainly because, let's be honest, people without helmets, they get shot. But that's just a personal feeling, and I know that it's more of a buzz on my head than it is for anything else. I think there are going to be plenty of Black Templar players who are going to get this model, and they're going to be excited for it. Next up, we have the Lieutenant. Every Space Marine release seems to have a Lieutenant nowadays, but this one fits the bill. He actually feels like he does belong here. He has a Storm Shield, which is great. I think he's the only Lieutenant to actually have an invulnerable save stock without using relics or anything else. He also has a Volkite weapon, which I think will make people very happy. Like the Captain, he's very well decorated, but he's distinctly different from the Captain, who definitely looks like a higher rank than this dude. So I think it's a very nice touch. They've managed to make the comparison of the two very nice. And let's be honest, if you was just to paint this guy up as a Captain, you would have accepted that until you saw the actual Captain model and thought, oh no way, he has to be my leader. So I think both these models will find a lot of places on the tabletop. Lieutenant's less so than a Captain, but this is a great little model, and I'll be interested to see what that Volkite actually does, what kind of Volkite weapon it is, because they often change them a little bit for 40k from 30k, so yeah, we'll see. Sticking with the theme of Storm Shields, next up are the Blade Guard. I actually really like these models. I think they're going to be a stunning close combat looking unit. They can get stuck in. I think impulsors and repulsors are going to be used a lot by players now to get up close, and you know, first turn you move up the table, second turn you charge. I think that's going to be a very common theme in the new 40k, and these models are going to fit the bill. They're going to be nice and survivable, and they're going to be able to hack through infantry quite handily. I'm hoping that they can be taken in larger units when they're actually released. 5 models seems a lot more, a lot more utility out of them. They're a bit vulnerable here to being killed. I'd like them to also have a 3rd wound. I think that would help. But yeah, these models are great. They are, a themed army. They'll give you a nice close combat punch, and they'll fit with the actual new Captain that you've got with his Storm Shield. Again, Black Templars players and also Dark Angels will probably rejoice at these models. What with the robes and the actual Storm Shields and Gothic look to them, I think they're going to be very popular, but they'll also fit into most other armies, and I'm really happy to see them. The poses are not particularly dynamic, but I think that works quite well with the Storm Shield, so I'm quite happy with that. I think such a large Storm Shield does make it quite difficult to make a dynamic pose, and therefore these are probably the best choices for these models, because they do look very good. The next Blade Guard model is the Blade Guard Ancient. Now this model is quite interesting to me. I'm not sure if I like it. Not because I think it's a bad model, I think it's actually a stunning model. If you look at it, the detail and it's probably more gothic than the actual Captain, and I think he looks great for that. I'm just not sure he fits every single army, really. You know, I mean, there's room for Gothic Space Marines everywhere, as I have said, but he doesn't quite, he looks a little bit too far. Carrying the hand of one of your battle brothers and not a weapon doesn't feel very Salamander-esque, Raven Guard. I mean, I suppose Iron Hands could be said to do that, but then would it not be an Iron Hand? And then, you know, for myself as an Ultramarines player, I'm not sure it kind of fits. It really fits Imperial Fists. You know, they like to scrimshaw the bones of their brothers. So yeah, it's a little too niche for me, but it's a great looking model. There's no denying it. If you look at just the pose of it and what it brings to the table, it really will bring a Gothic feel to your Space Marine army. So yeah, I'm very much happy that this has been released. But again, I feel like it's a little too niche. I mean, I couldn't imagine Space Wolves players liking it. It's a matter of taste, so we'll have to just move on from there. This Chaplain looks great. I didn't like the original Chaplain for Primaris. I felt like trench coats just don't suit Space Marines. I think it's a little bit silly. It's not as if they're in Necromunda. It's not as if they need a trench coat. I'm not sure what purpose they'd serve. So I wasn't very happy with the original one. Plus his Crozius was far too thin. It was more like a rod. Whereas this is a traditional looking Chaplain, and I think Games Workshop have gone back to that for Primaris because they knew they didn't have it. They wanted to provide a bit of a wider range with more traditional looking Space Marines, which was the call for a lot of players. This is a good looking model. I like the pose. I think it's very classic Space Marine, very classic Chaplain, and can't say anything bad about it. It'll fit into just about any army except for maybe Space Wolves, but that's because their wolf priests are a little bit funny. I'll probably be proven wrong there, so I'm going to probably paint it up as a Space Wolf and it'll look spectacular. Always happy to be proven wrong when it's a positive thing like that, really. Speaking of trench coats, I've got to point out that this next model, the Judicia or Judicar, depending on which Games Workshop employee mentions it, I don't like him. Again, he's got a trench coat. I mean, why has he got a trench coat? That just seems silly. I get that Space Marines don't need to wear robes either, but that's more of a concealment, I'd imagine. It's more of a ritual, you know, it's more of a style rather than the actual, you know, use of that item of clothing. But I just don't get it. I don't get trench coats on Space Marines. They don't fit that kind of ideal to me. They're not Imperial Guardsmen. They're not, you know, they're not even Chaos Marines might wear trench coats, and even them I don't think it suits. So yeah, I'm not a fan of trench coats, and this guy is no exception. I love his blade. I think that's kind of an original take on a weapon. What's the deal with his head? What is that? Is he wearing a skull? Is he bald? Has he had all of his skin flayed off him? I mean, it's hard to tell, and that's the thing. If it's hard to tell from a picture, that's not very good. That's not a very good model. I don't like it. The pose is good. I mean, in fact, it's a stunningly crafted model. But here's the biggest problem I've got with this model. It looks like a War Machine model. It does not look like a 40k model at all. It's like when I said that Shrike looked like an Infinity model. This one looks like a model straight out of War Machine, and I do not like it. I'll never come around to liking it simply for that factor. It's not a Warhammer 40,000 model. It's a shame because I kind of like the idea of a big executioner type model. I don't know what he does. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, it's just I'm never going to have this model in my collection, and I wouldn't be surprised it's a Marmite figure going forward, and you'll see people who either love it or hate it, which I don't think is good for a model range. I mean, more than half of the people loved the new Gazgal. They loved the new Abaddon, which is a good sign. But I think at least half of the people are not going to like this model. I could be wrong, but I think it's terrible. So moving on to something a little bit more positive, we have the Assault Intercessors. Now these models look great. Look how dynamic they look. They are very impressive looking models. Now if I was going to collect this side of the box from the Indomitus box, I mean I'm actually going in on the Necron side with a friend of mine, I'd be a bit disappointed. They look such great models and they're very dynamic, but here's the problem. There's only 5 unique models in that box set. Therefore, all 5 of them are duplicated, and this is a big problem for me. I mean, it was okay when I was quite a lot younger. I used to have a lot of duplicated models, and that was the style of Games Workshop back then. They didn't have the range that they have now. But maybe I've been spoilt by kit bashing. Maybe I've been spoilt by the old classic Marines, but I do not like these models for being duplicated. 5 of them on the table, great. But unless you're a really good converter, you really will struggle to make the other 5 look separate from these dudes. And that is a massive shame for me. I'm guessing if they weren't as dynamic as what they are, you could probably get away with it. If they were in a bit more, parade ground pose, then you'd be able to just say that they're all standing at attention. But yeah, with these guys like rushing forward or swinging wildly, they kind of look unique. And then to say that, oh yeah, this guy next to him is exactly the same, it's a bit upsetting. So I'd find that disappointing if I was to actually be trying to use all 5 of those intercessors alongside the other 5 which are already in your army and painted. And let's be honest, you're going to want 10 of them, because that's 20 wounds. They're going to be quite a formidable close combat choice in that regard. But 5 of them, you're wasting 5 other models. So I'm not sure what we're going to do there. That's a little bit bittersweet because the models are stunning. And it's just a bit of a disappointment from a logistical point of view. I guess when there's a multi-part box coming out, there might be more poses available, but we'll have to wait and see. I don't want to end this video on a negative, so I'll get the other potential negative out the way now. And that's the Invader ATV. See, I don't actually mind this model. I can suspend the disbelief of its ground clearance that a lot of people are criticising, etc. I have no problems with that. I mean, a lot of models in 40k don't have good ground clearance or even logistically or anatomically correct. It's not, it's about the effect they have on the table, which is great. No, for me, what the problem is Primaris are billed as these big brutish things, and then you're missing half the model at the front. I don't understand where it's all gone. Where's the front of that? I mean, if it was an armoured car, I think it would be a lot more effective. But I'm not sure where, where's the front? It looks like half the model's missing. And that's what I don't like about it. That's my big criticism. When Jez Goodwin was talking about the bikes, which are coming up next, he mentioned how they look brutal. Well, if you look at that ATV, it doesn't look brutal at all. It looks like half the model was missing, and the guy's on a go-kart. And if that front bit had a bonnet to it or whatever, it wouldn't look like a go-kart. So yeah, that's a big problem in my eyes. I'm very disappointed with this model for that reason. Conceptually, I'm not sure what it's going to do on the tabletop. That an Inceptor squad won't do, but we'll see. A bit of variety is always good anyway. And as long as both of them are competitive, I don't think it matters. Now, I know that this model is getting a lot of stick online. I've shared more than my fair share of memes to my friends. So I just wonder what Games Workshop will do with it. Will they take it off the, back to the drawing board, take it off the market, or will they just go for it? I mean, I didn't really like the Invicta Warsuit, simply because it was just a stripped down dreadnought. I didn't see the idea of it. It kind of cheapens dreadnoughts. But this is a stripped down buggy. It's a stripped down armoured car, and it's the same sort of problem for me. It doesn't look right. It doesn't fit Space Marines. So yeah, I know Space Marines have big power armour on, so they can, they're generally protected from small arms in the background anyway, but even so, where's the front? Put the front on and then we'll talk. The next reveal, which isn't in the Indomitus box set, I might point out, just like the Invader wasn't either, is this. It's a Tech Marine manned servo gun, which is called the Firestrike, which is kind of an odd name for a mobile weapons platform. But anyway, I kind of like it actually. It's like an old tarantula. Cool, that was a mouthful to say. It's like the old tarantula from the old Space Crusade days and Rogue Trader. It actually looks like it. It looks okay. Not much to say about it. It's a support weapons platform. It looks alright to me. I do think it's a little bit strange that Tech Marine's not fixing your vehicles and is there manning guns instead. But that's the same thing with the Thunderfire as well. So yeah, I don't have a problem with it. Maybe they need to release a Tech Marine model for Primaris to assuage people's concerns with that. But yeah, it's a good model, I think. It looks alright. Not sure what weapon's going to be better suited for it. Likely, from the nostalgic point of view, I would prefer the Las Talon, simply because it would look like a traditional tarantula. But, that still looks pretty cool with that accelerator autocannon, which I'm not sure the rules are. I believe it's strength 8, 4 shots, maybe 8 shots for for the twin link factor, I'm not sure. The penultimate release that is on the Indomitus box is going to be this, the Eradicators. I actually really like these. It's nice to see Games Workshop fixing Gravis armor. There was a lot of criticisms of Gravis armor, and this sort of take on it, it looks really good. Looks, it definitely looks a lot less bulky and, ungainly as the previous ones like Aggresses. I really like these models. I think they look great. They're going to be marching up the table, mounting things, and alongside your other models, people won't target them as easily because, target saturation is a thing. They'll be jumping out of impulsors and mounting stuff. I think they're going to be a very strong unit on the tabletop for that reason. Not sure why they need long-range melters. Isn't that just a multi-melter? But we'll see what the rules are for it. We don't know really, but it's probably just a multi-melter type weapon that doesn't have a -1 to hit. Aggressors seem to like to be able to advance and shoot, so I'd imagine it's an assault weapon probably. Poses are all the same, but in contrast to the assault intercessors, they kind of look like they're doing a task, so it doesn't look as bad. So the fact that they look very similar, it's not an issue. And this is, this is going back to the assault intercessors, but that's what they should have done with them, I'm afraid. Or produce less models in the unit, or produce more unique models. I can imagine these Eradicators are going to make it into many competitive lists online. They're going to jump out of impulsors. You could fit a squad of these plus a character into an impulsor and cause a lot of trouble right up the board. I think they're going to be great. People are going to enjoy them. It does make me quite interested to see if they'll ever redo Aggressors, make them a little bit more stylized like these, because in case you haven't noticed, Aggressors have basically been the very first release for Gravis armor, and then they've gradually changed it as time's gone on. I mean, Kargar looks a little bit different. That Imperial Fist guy, Torgadon, I can't remember his name. He looks a little bit different to the Aggressors, and these guys look even more separate from them, as almost a separate armor type. So they're not really Aggressors, are they? They're not really in Gravis armor. So yeah, I'm kind of enjoying the evolution of the range there. I think it's a positive. It's showing that Games Workshop's taken on feedback, and that's always a good thing. Now, moving on to the very last choice in the Space Marine Indomitus box is the Bikers. I saved these to last because I think they are brilliant. People might complain about ground clearance, but my suspension of disbelief is well and truly working for them. You can see as well that potentially the wheels can go up and down a little bit, the axles, etc. I don't know, whatever. I don't care. They look good. Jez Goodwin described them as brutal. They look brutal. They look like if they was to hit you, they do a lot of damage, which is kind of the problem with that go-kart that we mentioned earlier. It looks the opposite. These look like great models. I think they're going to be a replacement to Assault Marines in many armies. I don't think many people take them anyway, Assault Marines. That's going to be their main goal. And I think if people can take them in larger units of 5 or 6, they're going to be an incredibly strong unit as well. They're actually more useful on the tabletop than Assault Intercessors. They're going to be faster, they're going to be tougher, they're going to have an extra wound each, they're going to have better firepower than even a standard Intercessor. And in addition to that, they've got chainswords, so they'll have the same amount of attacks as the Assault Intercessor. These models, if they can be taken in larger units, are going to be absolutely everywhere. They look great, and they're going to be very powerful. And I really do think we're going to see a lot of them on the tabletop. Biggest weakness of this unit is the lack of special weapons, but I think you'd use these as an assault unit, if I'm honest. A White Scars army would do well to have, say, 2 units of standard bikes, Space Marine bikes, with their special weapons, and then say 2 units of these, 5 strong each, to go up forward, tank all the hits and get in close combat. I think that is going to be a very effective force and going to be very dangerous on the tabletop. Beware the White Scar players. What I like about these models is they all look a little bit different. There's only 3 of them. If there was 5 and 2 of them looked exactly the same, they'd have to be more standard models, looking forward and just riding the bike. When you're in a dynamic pose, it is really obvious if you've been duplicated. So I'm really happy with the way they've done these models and the way they've released them and added them to the box. Well, anyway, that's my review of the Space Marine side of the Indomitus box, plus the extras in the servo harness gun, the Tech Marine gun, and the ATV Invader go-kart. So let me know what you think, guys. Let me know if you agree with any of my choices, whether you dislike some of the models that I've liked, or whether you've liked some of the models I've disliked. Please comment below, and I look forward to speaking to you soon. Peace out.